The Israelis have killed 2 more journalists, Hossam Shabat of Al Jazeera Mubasher, Mohammad Mansour of Palestine Today. That brings the number to 208. Each one was individually targeted. The IDF says they used extensive intelligence gathering and precise munitions. Shabat killed in his car, Mansour in his house. The Committee to Protect Journalists has once again noted that the deliberate targeted killing of journalists is a war crime. Do you have any comment?
I would say that every single thing that's happening is a result of Hamas and its choices to drag that region down into a level of suffering that has been excruciating and has caused innumerable deaths.
Mahmoud Khalil, there was a DOJ brief filing with the court regarding his case. And one of the assertions in there was that he had failed to mention part of his resume, part of his history. And one of the things that DOJ brought up was his work with UNRWA. So I know you can't comment on a particular visa case. I'm not going to ask you. I know the drill. But in a larger perspective, does the State Department now look upon work with UNRWA as a potential negative when applying for a green card or other visa? That's question one. Question two, on Friday, Dorothy Shea, who heads up on an interim basis the U.S. mission to the UN, called Security Council Resolution 2334 a mistake. It's been, for the most part, the defining policy around settlements for a while now, other than the first Trump admin. The spokesman for the mission told me there's been no change in policy. Her statement doesn't reflect a change in policy. But obviously, she calls it a mistake. It means something. What is the position right now of the Trump admin and the State Department on Israeli settlements beyond the Green Line? Are we going back to the Pompeo doctrine? Is it going to be used as leverage to expand the Abraham Accords, which Vice President Vance brought up today? What is the position?
Speculation. I've just got to get my speculation book out. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to guess what's in the minds of diplomats, and diplomats are involved, including an ambassador and her statements. I'm not going to speculate on any of that, what they mean, or what other leaders are going to do or not do. And I appreciate we all have questions about certain things. What I can say, well, now I have to say what I can say about what I can't say regarding your first question, is that you mentioned, of course, that there are court filings, and you mentioned the detail of what you say is in a court filing. I'm not going to expand on that either. So what I can say in general is what the Secretary has said, what the President has said, what I have said on numerous occasions, and as brought up here just a little bit ago as well, when it comes to the nature of messaging regarding visas and what the United States expects, and I think what every nation expects. When someone is knocking on the door saying, can we come in? America's answer to that has usually been a resounding yes, please do, using the regular legal system to do it. But the reason that system works is because there's order to it. And we have expectations to what it is you say to us. And if you have an order and expectations and they're never enforced, or it doesn't matter and other people see that, it means that none of the laws mean anything, the regulations don't mean anything, and you're not even really a nation. You're a nation effectively without borders and controls. And no nation operates in that fashion. So it's not, again, certainly not commenting on any particular filing or any particular case. If you lie in your efforts to come to the United States to get a visa for any reason or for a green card, maybe there haven't been repercussions or we haven't done things properly in the past. A lot of things have changed with the election of Donald Trump, as the American people have said. What has happened in the past is now unacceptable. We see the impact on people's lives, everybody's lives, and it's not anything new. We want to have the order back. We want to have the rules, the expectations, the values back to how we make our decisions. So it is an important message. It's a normal message. It's a reasonable message. And it's important, and especially for those when there's certainly a court argument, or if you have lied, if you've misrepresented what you were going to do here, there has to be a response to that for a nation to be able to be taken seriously by its own people who rely on it to keep them safe.
I have two questions, but I want to follow up on the application form, just to be clear. So you're saying that Mahmoud Khalil has lied on the application?
Oh, I never commented on his case. I never said that he did it all. I'm saying that if anyone coming here, and when you're filing, if you're trying to get a visa or anything else, I never spoke about him and what he did or did not do.
I'll take this one back.
Yes.
Fair enough. But my question to you is, for example, the evidence was taken against him that he was a member of UNRWA.
Nadia, I have to tell you, I'm not going to remark at all on a particular case. It's not going to happen.
Let me try again, different way. Do you think that
last chance.
3
strikes here.
Do you believe that if somebody is a member of UNRWA, of the UN organization, and they did not disclose that if they apply for a visa, for somebody who is coming, since UNRWA is not a terrorist organization, are they denied a visa?
This is related to a court filing regarding a specific case, including also we don't talk about visas and the specific dynamic there. I'm not going to speculate or confirm or not confirm any dynamic that belongs to consular officers, to laws, to court filings that occur, or to the visa process for individuals. I'm not going to do that. And so I'm sorry. I would love to be able to answer your question, but I can't. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead. Yes.
Has Israel briefed the United States on its plans for a renewed ground operation? And is this something that the U.S. supports, a massive ground operation into Gaza?
Again, if there was a conversation about that, it is not something that I'm going to share the details with anybody anywhere. It's not
Does
personal.
the U.S. support a ground operation?
I'm not going to comment or speculate or anything in that regard when it comes to something as serious as negotiations in an area where there's a conflict that we are working every day to stop, and we have been the lead in the ceasefire aspects. We've been the lead in bridges to the next steps, and we are dealing with a terrorist organization that cannot remain at all in that region because of what they do. They then continue the suffering, and it's the simplest thing in the world. Hamas could release the hostages, which they still have, and the bodies of those that they've killed, and they could lay down their arms, and the suffering would end. All of this would end, and the questions come back, understandably, to the State Department, to Marco Rubio, to envoys, to people trying to get it to stop about one thing, or why haven't you done this, or would you do this? It is Hamas it's one step it could take, and the carnage could end. And I appreciate what you're asking, but I have certain limits in what I can express when it comes to the way decisions get made. But what we do know is that decisions have been getting made that have stopped the fighting, that have given us the first glimmer of hope in ages. And we're going to continue that kind of work because we do care, and we are determined to get peace. And we're the closest we've been in most areas than we've been in ages, and that needs to continue, sir. And is a gentleman here?
A couple of questions on Gaza.
And you are, sir?
Shia Britansi, Al Jazeera English.
Terrific. How do you do? All right.
Nice to meet you. Reuters reports that the U.S. and Hamas have accepted
Good old Reuters.
a ceasefire, I'm told, a ceasefire proposal from Egypt, but Israel has yet to respond. Is that your understanding?
I don't have an understanding about what might be negotiations, nor am I going to speculate or guess. Of course, things we do know is that the Egyptians care about the situation. There is the Arab plan. We know that has been discussed. We know how the Arab plan has not met the requirements of the Trump administration in a couple of instances, and when it comes to certainly Gazans and their safety in this process. No, I don't have a comment on that.
The Israelis have killed 2 more journalists, Hossam Shabat of Al Jazeera Mubasher, Mohammad Mansour of Palestine Today. That brings the number to 208. Each one was individually targeted. The IDF says they used extensive intelligence gathering and precise munitions. Shabat killed in his car, Mansour in his house. The Committee to Protect Journalists has once again noted that the deliberate targeted killing of journalists is a war crime. Do you have any comment?
I would say that every single thing that's happening is a result of Hamas and its choices to drag that region down into a level of suffering that has been excruciating and has caused innumerable deaths. And of course, their reaction on October 7th, when there was a ceasefire and people were living in some relative peace, they decided to break that with an atrocity that was just certainly the most Jews killed in a single framework than during the Holocaust. And we also, I can tell you, we stand by Israel and its needs as it defends itself through this period of time, as we also work with them so that they don't need to defend themselves from the barbarity of an entity that has destroyed lives for generations and continues to. So for everyone who has, so many people who do so many jobs and who've lived different lives, and the children and the babies who didn't have a chance to seek their fortunes or their life dreams because of the barbarity of certain people who think that murder is the only way to move through life.
Is it a war crime?
And I will tell. I'm certainly. I'm not going to stand here and declare what's a war crime and what isn't. But what we do know is a crime is the mass slaughter of any individuals. Certainly, the targeting of people simply because of who they are. That Jew hatred is a signal regarding the barbarity and the nature of who it is you're dealing with. The world knows that if you don't stop it and don't confront it as it bears its ugly face, it will not stop. And that is part of what this world now has decided, that when we say never again, we mean never again. Yes, Saeed, please. You've been. Tammy. Yes,
very
of course.
Quickly, I have a couple of questions. One on.
I'm not
Gaza.
surprised.
One on Gaza. Thank you. One on Gaza and one on the West Bank. On Gaza, I want to ask you about the humanitarian situation. It's been determined that over 97% of Gaza's underground water is unfit for human consumption, and it's being held. Are there, aside from possibly talks for a ceasefire, another ceasefire, and so on, are there any talks that you're aware of to get the humanitarian aid going, especially the water going? And second, I want to ask you on the West Bank, but I'll wait until you answer this.
Well, this is why we want, and we're very disturbed when Hamas did not perform to make sure that the ceasefire could continue, that they did not do what they said they would do. So we know, of course, when it comes to the groundwater, of course, it's a crisis. It's exacerbated by the fact that you have a terrorist group that just doesn't care. When you think about the nature, we're concerned about groundwater. We know wherever you are and whoever you are, about what makes life possible. And yet you are dealing with an entity controlling and had controlled that area that not only is not caring about the nature of a quality of life, they don't care about life at all. Their reason for being is to use human beings as human shields and to murder and to rape, to just create a kind of suffering that is unimaginable for civilized human beings. So, of course, we care about this. This is why this administration has been determined and has been focused on changing that environment so it doesn't repeat for every generation. There's a certain point where all of us in this room will be gone from this planet. And your children, or the people you know, and your grandchildren will be sitting in these chairs. If we can, as our generations, can try to please, there'll always be problems. But with what we've learned over the last several centuries, certainly the last century, and the beginning of this one, is that it cannot continue, so that they can have other conversations, and maybe even better ones. But that has got to be what we focus on, and I think that it's I don't want to just say it's not a given. But every time I see you, Saeed, you ask me questions and I answer you in a similar way. And I believe I like you. You've gotten to know me a tiny bit. Is that I am serious when I say these things to you and say them to you from my experience working in this building with the people who've devoted their lives to dealing with these issues. People, I've mentioned the career people before, the bureaus that are in this building that work on the issues in the regions, certainly the people who are voted in by the American people. And it is every day, maybe I don't know what happened before in the last 50 years that makes it still an issue now. We are serious, beyond serious, that it's going to end. So I'm going to leave from there because I do, through the rest of the day and through this briefing, I end up answering, I think, many of your questions. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I have a question back to the West Bank. I'm wondering if you've seen reports that the co-director of the Oscar-winning film No Other Land was just beaten by settlers and taken from the ambulance from which he was carrying. If not on that particular, there's been a spike in settler violence in the West Bank over the last 15 months. How concerned is this State Department about what we're seeing in the West Bank?
Well, I'm going to check any loss of life or people being harmed. Certainly, we decry, and that's something I'm going to want us to go back and check on, and I'll do that. But obviously, how concerned are we about violence?
By settler violence against Palestinians.
When it comes to the issue of violence, I think this State Department, this administration, and as I've been working here, and certainly as an American in general, it's obvious, without my going through a soliloquy again, that we care very much about that and want it to end. Yes, ma'am, in the back in purple.
Thank you so much. On Israel, Ayşenur Ezgi Egi, who is an American Turkish activist, was killed by an Israeli soldier on September 6th in the occupied West Bank while attending a protest. More than 6 months have passed since the U.S. government called on Israel to investigate her killing, but there has been no action and accountability until this date. So I'm wondering if the administration pursuing justice and accountability for Ayşenur and other Americans who were killed by Israel, and would you support an independent investigation into her killing as demanded by Ayşenur's family?
Because of the world we live in, often I have to say we decry the harming or the injury or the killing of anyone. But when it comes to the nature of what Israel is doing, obviously I'm not going to speak to the nature of the choices they've had to make in what is clearly one of the most difficult times in their history, in the history of everyone in the region. But what I will do, let's go back. Let's make sure we follow up, Heather, on that particular issue, and we'll take it from there. That's where we're going to go.